everyone, this is Nate with another Backcountry beer review. I just summited Touch Me Not Mountain, which is a beautiful 12,000 foot peak in northern New Mexico near Eagle Nest Lake State Park. And it's not my final destination for the day. That is actually Baldy Mountain, which is right behind me, and actually the tallest point in the very famous Philmont Boy Scout Ranch. And I thought I'd take a second to introduce my beer for this week's Backcountry beer review. Lager summer is officially over, and when summer ends, that means fall is beginning. And to honor that, I have decided to review a very fall-appropriate beer. It is by Wasatch Brewery in Park City, Utah, and it's their Black Lantern Pumpkin Stout. Now, I turned 21 in around 2015, so that was pretty much the height of the pumpkin beer craze, when every single brewery on planet Earth decided to make a cloyingly sweet pumpkin beer that pretty much tasted like a pumpkin spice latte and had virtually no pumpkin in it. So I'm very interested to see how this beer turns out, because I've been in the mood for pumpkin beers and this one sounds pretty good. Let's read the back of the can. What kind of madman would cross an imperial stout with a pumpkin ale? Our brewers, as it turns out. This rich, chocolatey Franken brew is dry spiced and scary good. Ooh. And it's worth noting that this is the second beer that is 6.66% alcohol by volume that I've reviewed on Backcountry Beer Reviews. So, I'll try not to read too much into that and what that means for myself and this channel. But yeah, I'm excited to try this. I'm going to hike over to Baldy Mountain and open it up. Okay, it is time for a sip. And if you're wondering why you're on the ground right now, you're behind a windshield that somebody built on the top of the mountain. There's a low but steady wind right now, and I think where you are should eliminate most of the wind noise. Anyway, time for that sip. The first thing I'll say is I don't think this fits either of those two bad pumpkin beer categories I mentioned before. It's definitely not cloyingly sweet. If anything, it's a little dry. And there is pumpkin spice flavor to it, but it's definitely not like a PSL in beer form. It's pretty well restrained in that regard. The first note I get up front, speaking of lattes, is kind of vanilla latte. I'm getting this strong vanilla note that kind of, it shares the kind of the mouthfeel of the beer, the latte versus the beer, and it's a little creamy. It's a little bit of like roasted coffee beans. I wouldn't quite say it's coffee, but it's definitely very chocolatey. This is a chocolate forward beer for sure. And as I mentioned before, it's a little dry actually. And it's funny because I have not had this for probably 15 or more years. But when I was growing up, my mom used to make this, I think it was just like a healthy chocolate cake. And because of that, there was less sugar in it. I'm sure there was probably less fat, less butter, or oil instead of fat, or oil instead of butter, I mean. And that's what this kind of reminds me of, because honestly, they say it's a cross between an imperial stout and a pumpkin ale. It is definitely not full-bodied enough for me to really say that I think it's even a stout. To me, I would almost say this is like porter territory. And because of that, and because it's not very sweet, it is pretty reminiscent of like a health food chocolate cake, right? And I think a little bit of pumpkin spice, I think particularly like the cinnamon is coming through especially strong. That kind of transitions to the chocolate note. The beer does have a little bit of natural sweetness in it. And so that kind of health food chocolate cake, if you want to call it that, transitions to more of like a chocolate lava cake sprinkled with powdered sugar, right? I'm getting, it might not be terribly sweet, but that sweet flavor, that sugar flavor, absent the sweetness itself, is coming through, and that's what's making me think of chocolate lava cake. Additionally, maybe these flavors sort of diverge a little bit, and I'm getting the spices now playing in their own realm, and I'm getting maybe a little bit of fruitcake, something made with spiced fruits, spiced dark fruits. If anything, that might be where the pumpkin's coming in, because I'm getting almost no pumpkin notes in this beer, and maybe the little fruitiness I'm picking up in that segment is the pumpkin coming through. Pretty much the beer finishes with kind of the chocolate bitterness that you would expect. And ultimately, I think this is a pretty good beer. I think it's doesn't really quite know what it wants to be. It says it's a cross between an imperial stout and a pumpkin ale. Well, it's definitely not an ale. It's a dark beer. It's got these dark roasty notes, but it's kind of lacking the pumpkin flavor as well. So I don't really think it's a pumpkin ale. It's got the spice a little bit, to the point where it's almost coming across as mint at the initial taste, not really like a pumpkin spice. And then the Imperial Stout, I said my piece on that. It's actually sort of a light-bodied beer. It has the roasty notes, but the mouthfeel is it's not bad, but it's just a little thin. It's more like a porter. And so, a good beer, but I don't know what it wants to be. Overall, I'm happy to enjoy it on this mountain peak, though. This was a great hike, and man, I can't wait to do it in reverse. Not really. I think that's going to be it for me. So cheers, and have a backcountry beer for me. Hey everyone, this is Nate with another backcountry beer review. Today I just summited. Hey everyone, this is Nate with another backcountry beer